Today we're going to be doing a roast, and the roast is going to consist of goose breast and duck breast.
Today we're going to start doing a little fall trapping. I'm going to paddle down the river and got the shotgun. Hopefully we'll get some wood ducks for supper. I had a nice flock of geese go over. I've got one for sure. Just gotta walk into the swamp and get them. Might be a little tricky. I thought the duck hunting was over, but come around the corner and there's two big mallards. Beautiful, beautiful mallard drake.
Okay, we're gonna clean this goose now. I don't know if it'll be pinny or not, but I'm gonna skin them. So start with your knife up through the brisket, or up through the breast. And just take your knife, run it right down the side of the breastbone. And it's almost like you're skinning a fish. Just one side. All you gotta do is wash them off and put a little seasoning on them and put them in the slow cooker. They're good in the slow cooker. You pull the legs off them. Do the same thing. You can bone them out or you can leave them whole. But that's what she's done.
We have a local hunter, and his name is Mike Swales, and he has brought in beautiful duck and goose breast. And normally what happens with a lot of hunters when they go out, they're very, very good at hunting the game, but sometimes they just don't have a lot of the knowledge on the proper methods of cooking it. And the reason for this is because of the fact that wild game does not have a lot of fat. We sort of refer to them like a goose or anything like that as sort of like an Olympic athlete. Like they've got 0% body fat. So when you're in a cooking process like that, without fat, there's no flavor, and there's also the fact that it can't be juicy or moist. So if you overcook any type of game meat, whether it be beaver, whether it be moose, whether it be elk, whether it be caribou, if you take anything above medium rare, it becomes very, very tough. So the meat that we're going to be preparing today, we have two breasts here, which are Canadian goose, which you can see the difference in the size. These here are both breasts, actually. They're filleted off the breast. They are two breast meat, and this is off a mallard duck. So you can see the difference, in the size of the breast. One obviously being a larger bird compared to the smaller bird. But the other thing that you can really see too is that there's fat on the duck breast. And so this is going to become very handy when we do cook this, because it will be able to moisten and flavor the meat. And that also is to protect the duck's belly when they're obviously in the wild, in the ponds and things like that. So that's why you're finding that there's a layer of fat. So what we're going to be doing with this is that we're going to be seasoning it, we're going to be flavoring it, and then we're going to bring Mike in, and we're going to show how to set this up, and we're going to roast it in the oven. This is Mike Swales, and he is our local hunter and angler expert.
For me, for the last 30 years or better, it's slow cooker. Just because if you're no fat on the goose, like it's going to be dry. So lots of liquid, and in slow cooker with, what gives it moisture and keep it tender.
And that would be typically the way that you would add tenderization to any type of game meat. So what I would like to do today is I'm going to show Mike and teach what we can do is to add a little bit more fat to this, and also a little bit of a different cooking procedure. So from the very, very beginning, you want to add flavor to this at some point. So, even if it's just salt and pepper, you got to add just a little bit for sure. So what we want to do is get this into a sizzling hot pan first. We're going to sear the fat. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to come in and we're going to do a really lovely wild rice and dried cranberry stuffing for this. And then we're going to do a full-on pan reduction. So we're going to have a really lovely pan reduction that comes out of this as well. So we're going to take this off now. We're going to let this rest for a while. This is what wild rice looks like in its sort of natural state before it's processed or cooked. What happens with this wild rice, though, is the fact that it's very, very, very tough. So you have to cook it 1 cup of wild rice to 4 parts of liquid, or 4 parts of water. You bring that liquid to a boil, And as soon as it comes to a boil, you turn it right stir it, and then you turn it down to a low heat and cover it and let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then drain it. This is what the texture is now, so there's a big difference. And you've got like these closed kernels, and then you've got these open kernels of rice. And this, of course, is now tenderized. So we've got probably about, I don't know, about 2 cups of rice here. And I've also added a little bit of basmati rice just to soften the flavor a little bit. To stuff this roast, we'll probably need about a cup, maybe a cup and a half of rice at the most. We're going to add in, this is, what I have here are dried cranberries, some grapes, also some dried apricots, and some nuts. So you probably need maybe a quarter cup, and maybe another bit. I'm also going to add a few wild blueberries to that as well. And then again, flavor. That's still, you know, there's still lots of flavor in there, but now I want to add a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more of the stock, just to give it a little bit more moisture and to help bind it together when we stuff the roast. I have just some diced celery and some onion here. So I'm just going to saute that off. Get all that out of there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to stuff this, but what I want to do is, I'm just thinking about it now, I'm going to make an incision in here, okay? So that what we can do is that we're going to be able to like stuff the inside of the breast, which is going to give it a lot more flavor. Then we're going to push it together with the duck. We're going to add more stuffing into this, and then we're going to wrap it all, and we're going to put it in the oven, okay? And you just want to make a pocket. Now you don't want that pocket you want the pocket, so you don't want to slice out either end, right? Because we want to keep the stuffing on the inside of the breast, right? So you just want to take like a whole handful like that and just push it in and stuff it as far as you can. And you also can push it to the ends. It doesn't, not just in the center, right? You can push it like all the way down to the end because you made a nice big pocket. So you get all that flavor in there. Perfect, right? So scrunch it all in, push it into the ends. So now that we've got this stuff, what I want you to do is we're going to bind it all together.
Over, under, back up. And that'll pull
Tight. Now that looks like a roast for an occasion, right?
Okay.
All you need is just an oven-proof pan. Will work fine as a roasting pan for this. And so what we want to also do is that we want to add some liquid. So we can add a little bit of water, probably about maybe a quarter of an inch in the bottom of the pan, because now we do want to have some moisture when we're baking this in the oven. Now we want to have some flavor in here too, though. So what we're going to do now is that I've made like a little bit of stock. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of stock to the pan. So that again is going to add some flavor to it. What I want to do is I want to build a trivet, but a trivet that's going to add some flavor. So you don't even actually have to. It's great, even if you have, you know, the greens on your carrots or anything like that. That's fine. What we're going to do is that we're actually going to build inside the pan a trivet. Flavor for one, but it's also going to keep the roast up off the bottom of the pan when we place it in here. So flavor is a big one, and we can certainly add some celery stalk. Again, mix it in here in our trivet. And even for more flavor, throw in just roughly chopped cooking onion. So again, what I want to do here though is I want to make sure that we have like lots and lots of flavor and fresh herbs. So there's rosemary in there. I also have some sage, which we normally sort of relate it to turkey and that sort of thing, but also again it works really, really lovely with wild fowl. The other thing that I've done in here too is I've actually roasted off some garlic. And you can roast that off in the oven, and what it does is it makes it nice and soft. It caramelizes all the sugars, and instead of it being a really sort of harsh, hot flavor, it becomes a very sweet, garlicky, and it's very, very intense. And you can even just throw the whole thing right in. What we're going to do is that now we're going to put this into a really hot oven. Because the fact that we've already seared the outside of this, right? It's going to take, in a really hot oven, we should probably be about 15 to 20 minutes. And we want to get it cooked, but the other part of this is we don't want to cook it so that it's well done. We don't want to take it to 160, 165. We want to pull this out at probably about 150 and just let it rest again, because what we want to see is we want to see it medium rare. What I am going to do is I'm just going to show you a trick. This is just a needle that you use for fluid, like when you inject into turkeys and things like that, to the legs and thighs, right? Well, you can still do that with this, you know, but I'm going to use like some orange juice. Again, just because of the different flavors that we've been using with the dried fruits and everything, it just seems like it's going to mix, right? So anywhere like underneath the skin, and just slowly release the flavor in there. And when you can feel it push back, right? And then go to another spot. And so you're just going to inject a little bit more moisture there. Same thing into the goose breast. So what we're going to do here now is that we're going to add our lovely little roast. We're going to put it on that trivet, and it's just got like bombs of flavor in there. Like there's just so much flavor going on, right? Because we started from the very beginning, building it all up. So it's fantastic. So you know what? Let's just add a little bit more, right? Why not? So we'll add some clementines in here. Throw in the leaves. I'm going to seal it right now so that we can keep the juices on the inside. Cook, there you go. So let's see what we have in here. Now that's looking pretty perfect to me. This is where the magic really happens. We've got like all of this like yummy stuff that we have in the bottom here. And if this was a roast, this would, you know, obviously cook down a little bit more, and it would also be, you'd be able to like mash it. Just to squish all of this and get all the flavor you can. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of jam. And now what we're going to do is that I'm going to throw this onto the top of the oven, and we're going to reduce this liquid to half. All right, it'll thicken, and the flavor will intensify too. So now all I'm going to do is like all of this. Just want like a little bit of color, and just press like that. And on the side.
Betty, you want some to try? Yes, oh yeah. Well, just look at it. The presentation and everything, it's just beautiful. It's just a whole different way of cooking, and it's not that hard. She zipped around there in the kitchen, unbelievable. This is another step to why we should buy a migratory bird license and go duck and goose hunting.